Hello everyone, Tim Mikeska here with Mikeska Brands Texas Barbecue at the beautiful v-bharre Ranch in the Texas Hill Country. A beautiful evening here, and for the last week we have been harvesting hogs. And I'm going to do a video to show you a little bit how we do it. There's different ways, most butchers will tell you there's just different ways that we all have to butcher hogs, and this is one of the ways that we do it, and there's some different options we'll have. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about sustainability. I think you've heard me talk about sustainability and what it means to home-style Texans, where we live off this land, and we take all these great gifts that we've been given and we maximize them to their best potential. And we make sure nothing is wasted, and these beautiful animals that God's given us, we make sure that they sustain us, and we honor them by always processing them in a safe, healthy way and using these animals to the maximum of their potential. One of the things that makes v-bharre Ranch different than a lot of other exotic game ranches is that we believe, and my cousin Mike here, and Jeremy, his biologist, and Tristan, and Joe Beth, and all, they believe that it's important to keep these animals as healthy as they can, to feed them and sustain them to their maximum potential. And so a lot of times in market pigs, they won't get over 250 pounds. Now, all butchers know that when a pig hits 250 pounds, it's at its maximum muscle potential. And anything above 250, you start basically feeding fat. You start building fat. And in a retail environment, building fat doesn't do anything good for you, because you have to trim that off and discard it or sell it for other purposes. But here at the ranch, we deal with so much exotic proteins that are 99% lean. Your elk, your nilgai, your aoudad, your scimitar horn oryx, pear davids, black buck antelope, whitetails, they are 99% lean. And so when we get ready to make your sausage, we need a product to support that sausage that has fat in it. And everybody knows fat is flavor. And you can't make a sausage any good that's too lean. And I've had people tell me, they say, Tim, we made our homemade deer sausage, and man, it was terrible. It was gamey and it was dry. And I said, how much pork did you put in it? They go, well, we put 20 pounds of deer meat and 5 pounds of pork. And I said, well, first of all, you messed up. You needed more pork. We try to do a 50-50 mixture, which extends the size of your animal in regards to what we're making for you. So if you're only going to harvest a black buck that may only have 25 or 30 pounds of harvestable meat, we'll be able to double that with the additional pork. The other thing that we have to do is we have to have a pork that's non-standard and with a lot of fat. And because when you're dealing with 99% lean proteins as the main muscle structure for that sausage, you have to complement that with about a 50% fat pork. And of course, we could buy 50% fat pork. We could buy all this trim material. But that's not what we do here in Texas, and it's not what my cousins do here at v-bharre Ranch. We raise these pigs, and we raise these pigs to the average 370 pounds. We had one this week that maxed out at 409. That's right, 409 pounds, and you'll see you'll see me break that down later in this video. But why do we take it to that big? Well, because we can. First of all, that's kind of the Texas answer to everything, because we can. But it's also to provide this much fat ratio on these muscles. And I can't even get this entire half of this pork, this hog here, in this video. I'm going to have to pan down to show you how much. And this one weighed about I think this was in the 370 range. And you can see it's a beautiful animal. And look at how much fat is on this back, along that loin. And we've already butchered 5 of these, and so we can already tell you about how good they taste and their muscle structure with all of the marble. We've had these already in pulled pork tonight. We've ate pulled pork that Mike made. And then we've already had them in bacon. If you never had v-bharre Ranch's bacon, a lot of people know that have hunted here and harvested animals and have eaten in the lodge this great bacon that Mike makes, and it's a wonderful peppered bacon that he does, and we've already had that. It was amazing this morning. Okay, the first thing we're going to do here is pull the tenderloin out. And the tenderloin, of course, is a very important muscle, very tender muscle. That's why I call it the tenderloin. But one of the things we have on this is the kidney. We want to get the kidney off because we're going to do a special type of Czech sausage called itrenica with that kidney, along with the pork liver and some of the jowls and cheek meat and stuff from the head. And so we want that kidney. And we also want all of that fat. I have another video on YouTube about leaf lard. And the leaf lard is the lard, the fat that surrounds the kidney, only on the pork tenderloin there. And it's a very great lard, a very clean lard to bake some wonderful things with. That's leaf lard. But anyway, that's the tenderloin right there. Now we're going to remove the sirloin and round from the mid primal. And we're going to do that right at the L1 junction there, that last lumbar before it goes into the sacrum bone. And we're going to split that right there. And we're only going to cut bone with a meat saw. Remember, we're only cutting bone. Once we get through that bone, we'll take our breaking knife and we'll finish it. One thing my father taught me is never cut meat with a saw. You only cut bone. Everything else is done with a knife. So to the left there is the whole pork round with the sirloin attached, and we will separate that later. And what is left is, of course, the entire loin plate, spare rib plate there, and then of course the forequarter here, which would be the pork chuck. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to count down 5 bones. You can either go 4 or 5. I usually go 5, and then we're going to make a mark there and go ahead and cut the flank there all the way off, so we can have a guide to put our saw down. And then we're going to remove that. Now, I believe that the pork forequarter, the pork chuck, is one of the best pieces of meat on the entire animal because it has a lot of fat in it. And of course, when we make sausage, we're going to make a sausage from whole muscle that comes off the shoulder and butt. That's what Mikeska Brands does. In this particular case, this is for our use here at the ranch, and we're going to do some different things with this that's not necessarily normal, and we will show you some of those as we progress through this video. Again, I've cut the saw through that, and now I'm going to use my knife to finish it. On the right there would be the pork forequarter, and Cousin Mike there is holding the entire pork loin and ribeye plate there, along with the bacon and spare rib. Look at the fat on that animal. Is that not amazing? Okay, so here's the chuck forequarter, and what we're going to do here is we're going to remove the country rib off of it. Those first 5 ribs there is what we call the country rib. You can do a lot of different things with this. You can make a cross-cut rib. I'm going to leave a little meat on this when I remove this. Now I'm right there on the brisket. That's the pork brisket right over there. Don't have a whole lot of pork brisket to really worry with, but we're going to trim all that out for sausage anyway. But I'm going to remove this plate, this entire rib plate from the forequarter, and that's going to leave us with the butt, and then it's going to leave us, of course, with the picnic shoulder. So if you take a look right in the center of that picture there, and you see that beautiful piece of round meat right there, that's what we call the money muscle on the pork butt. And a lot of people that do competition barbecue, that's what they're looking for. Now, in a beef animal, this would be, of course, the chuck roll, and that would be, of course, the brisket that I'm at right there, and that would be the lower chuck ribs. But there is some popularity in this chuck rib plate. When you see country style ribs in the store, or you'll see a cross-cut rib where they'll take these and they'll put them on a saw and cut them in about 2 inches. That's getting to be pretty popular. That's not done on the spare rib. I don't know of anybody that cuts country style ribs and puts it into a cross cut on a spare rib. You really don't want to waste that, but you can do it here on this chuck pork because it's really what it's good for. And I've left some meat on there. I'm going to, of course, take the shine bone off of that backbone there, and then you'll see that later. Now we've got the entire pork shoulder with the butt on. Now I'm taking that shine bone off right there. That's the 5-bone plate off the top of the mid chuck, and I'm going to trim this up a little bit. And excuse cousin Mike there, he forgot that the video camera was on. But we're going to clean this chuck rib up a little bit, and then I'm going to split it. And when I split it, we will have 2 nice pieces of meat that we can cook for our guests. And it's really a good cut because there's a lot of fat on this 4/4 pork, and I'm gonna split it right there. And then you've got 2 nice little rib plates that really are good. That's the country style pork rib right there. And now I'm going to clean up this pork 4/4. I'm going to take the shank bone, clean that shank bone up off, and then I'm going to remove the rest of that shank, which will go into soup bone. Very good pork stock right there. A lot of fat on that. Look at the marble in the rest of that shank and shoulder right there. It is just absolutely amazing. So now, when you separate the picnic from the butt, there's a couple ways to do it. I usually just kind of go right in the middle. Some people want to go higher and shorten the butt. Shorten the butt and make a longer picnic, but I don't really need to do that because I'm going to be doing some different things on this animal that's pertaining to what we use it for. Now I'm going to remove this sirloin. This is the pork sirloin right here, and it's a very interesting way to cut that. You look at that ham behind there. Mike just took the sirloin off. I'm going to clean that shank bone off. Make sure we get a good clean cut. We don't want that in our pork stock, that end bone. We don't want that cap in there. Now we're going to, again, take this entire back shank off, again for soup, pork stock. And now look at that back ham. Look at how beautiful that is. And you will see that I cut that absolutely perfect because the dollar is attached to the sirloin. And that's the butcher's dollar, and I'll explain that to you later. Now we've got where all the money goes to. This is the entire plate from the 5th rib to the end to the loin. And I'm asking Mike right now, how big a chop does he want? Does he want a long bone chop, or does he want a bigger spare rib? You have to make that decision here now if you want a bigger spare rib or a bigger chop bone, because you only get to cut this one time. And so he made the choice where he wanted it, and now we're going to pull this on through the saw. And again, if you watch what I do, I'm going to cut to that 12th and 13th rib, and then I'm going to stop, because we don't cut meat with a saw, we cut it with a knife. One thing my father taught me when I was just a wee little kid, 9, 10, 11 years old. And once you separate that, now to the left there we've got the bacon and spare rib, and to the right we have the entire chop from the ribeye all the way to the loin. Look at that. Look at the fat on that. Is that not amazing? Absolutely beautiful. That would be the bacon with the spare rib attached, and we'll show you how to peel that down. And look at the marble in that. It is absolutely amazing. Okay, so now we're going to remove the shine bone. We don't want to have any backbone on this rib at all, because we can't cut it any other way. So we've got to get it all off, and you can do it all in one piece. I kind of do it in 2 different cycles. I cut the main part off, and then I go back and kind of tweak it a little bit, because you don't want to cut too much of the meat off. And so I'm cutting the first cut here and removing the shine bone, which is the backbone, off of the rib, taking it all the way to the back, and it comes off pretty easy if you have a bandsaw. You're probably asking me, what do you do if you don't have a bandsaw? Well, you just have to do the best you can. Can you use a handsaw? Yes, you can. Is it easy? No, it's not. Not to do it this way. And so there was the backbone that Mike has right there. We're going to toss that. And then I've missed a few little places there at the front of the rib that I've got to clean up, because you can't have any crossbone in that when you make a chop. It all has to come off. And now we've got a beautiful pork chop and pork loin. And now I'm going to set the scale to where we need it to be in regards to how we want 1 inch, 1/4 inch, 1/2 inch. And I'm going to cut one and let him look at it, and then we're going to adjust. He wants it a little shorter, wants a little bit thinner chop. I kind of like that first chop there. I think I'll eat that one. And then once we get our mind made up, yeah, he wants a little bit less. I'll take those two, and then here we go. Those will be for Mike, the thinner ones. Love my cousin. He's, I mean, my family. I'm so proud to be part of this Mikeska and Vanacek family. Come from a hard-working bunch of people, raised right by our parents, and very proud of that. And now look at these chops. Once you get that shine bone off, those chops come off very, very easy. And look at that. Now when we get to the back of the loin, when we get to the back of this, you're going to see a little bit of feather bone and some end bone cuts still on there. And we just want to take that off with a knife. You don't want to saw that. And that's going to be the boneless loin back there, which would be your New York strip in a beef cattle would be. Now look at that. Look at that boneless loin. Just absolutely beautiful. And look at those chops. Again, these go to our guests at the ranch. We do these for our guests, but we really do it because we need to harvest this fat for sausage. Like I said at the beginning of the video, it's very important that we have big fat pork so we can compensate for that 99% lean proteins they have. And then there's everything on the broke down 1/2 of a pig right there. Now we're going to show you all of these cuts here, starting at the front. You're going to see the first thing I'm going to pull up here, I believe, is going to be the butt. Here's the top butt off the pork, Boston butt. Here are the chops. Well, excuse me, we're not going. I actually split this butt in half to make it a little bit easier. And that's the two top pieces that I've split in half. And then here's the chops, bone-in chop. And the next I'm going to pull here is that's the boneless loin, boneless pork loin. And look at that fat. Now we're going to trim that down. We don't want all that fat in the pork loin. We want it in the sausage. Got to have that. That's what it's all about. And what am I going to pull next here? This is the country style cross-cut rib. That's basically the brisket bone right there, the brisket ribs, and the top of that. And really good right there. That is some amazing barbecue right there. And then there's the entire belly with the rib attached. Spare rib on top and bacon on the bottom. And look at that marble. Well-raised pigs at v-bharre Ranch. And then down below we've got the sirloin. That's the sirloin. Another good piece of meat there that we're going to barbecue for our guests. And then there's the shoulder. There's the picnic shoulder right there. That's where most of everything goes into the sausage right there. Whole muscle pork shoulder. And then here is the entire ham, the pork round. Shank off. Okay, so we're going to take the pork loin and we're going to trim off a little bit of that feather bone that's still attached and just clean it up. And you want to get some of these end connective tissues, muscles off of that. The connective tissue needs to go. And again, that's all not going. That's not going away. That's going into sausage. And then once we get that trimmed off, you've got to take a little bit of the cap fat off. Again, you don't want that much cap fat on that loin. Where do we need it? Are you paying attention? We need it in the sausage. And there you go. Nilgai, elk, aoudad, scimitar oryx, black buck, all these proteins at the ranch need that fat. And that's why people tell us why our products at this ranch are so, I mean, they're so good, is because we know what to do with them. We know what to add to them to make them wonderful. And now I'm going to make these pork loins. I got a little bone there I forgot about, got to remove. But we're going to make these pork loins about a 3/4 inch thick. And we're going to either barbecue those or we can pan fry them. Lots of things you can do with pork loin. we ate those later, and they were absolutely amazing. So good. Okay, so this is the sirloin, and here is the butcher's dollar. That is the femur, the end of the leg, as it attaches to the hip there in the sirloin. And this is what butchers used to be paid on 100 years ago. They didn't. How many animals did you break down is what you got paid, and that's the butcher dollar. You wanted the size of a 50-cent piece, and I was lucky enough to cut that right where I needed to make that butcher's dollar. Now I've got to remove this H-bone out of this sirloin. And the reason we do this is because we're going to cut this sirloin into steaks, or we may cook it whole. I think we may have cooked this one whole. We did a lot of pigs during this cycle, and most of these sirloins, I believe, we cooked whole. But you've got to trim this sirloin up a little bit. It's got some connective tissue on it, and then you've got to remove the H-bone. And that is basically your hip bone, where it attaches to the animal's lower leg or the femur. You have to be really careful with this H-bone because there's two different junctions in it. It goes up and down and around. And you know what I tell people to do when they're first learning how to cut meat is follow the bone. Keep the knife away from you. Always cut away from you. And as long as you can feel part of that knife against the bone, then you're doing okay. If there's a lot of resistance, then you're a little too close to the bone. And then that's removing the H-bone there to have the whole sirloin. That's the H-bone. That's going into soup also. We're not throwing that away. And there's your whole pork sirloin. Okay, now we're going to clean up this butt. And there's a couple ways to do this. We were not concerned with the lower part of the butt. We wanted the money muscle that we were going to cook, and we wanted the rest of it for sausage. I actually use this for sausage, this entire piece for sausage in my commercial operations. But in this particular reason, we didn't want to have the whole butt that we were going to cook. I just wanted the top portion, and you'll see that I were going to remove this top portion, which is the money muscle, which would be the chuck eye in beef. But first we've got to get some of this cat fat off, this outside fat. What are we going to do with it? That's right, sausage. Now I'm over here with the round. What I'm going to do, which is a little different in this, is I'm going to do what we call unfold it. Now, why am I going to unfold the round? Well, the reason I'm going to unfold the round is because this is some big rounds, and they're easier to cure if they're in what we call the unfolded stage. And the way we unfold them is we remove the bone. And I'm cutting right there between the top round and the knuckle, which would be the sirloin tip and the top round. And if you were to cure this whole, this entire ham, you wouldn't have very good deep penetration of your cure, even if you used an injector with a long probe. We found that if you unfold this, and this is something my father taught me a long time ago, and our uncle recommends this all the time, Uncle Clem, is that you unfold this round. And it makes it a heck of a lot easier to cure, and it makes it a lot better because you get a great penetration of your seasonings and your brine, and it just makes it a lot better. So what I'm doing here is I found the bone, the entire femur, and I'm just going to remove it. And I'm not too particular about taking, getting straight on the bone. A lot of commercial butchers would make that bone come out, and it would look like, a dog wouldn't even look at it. There'd be nothing left on it. But we're going to make this into soup bones, and so there's nothing wrong with leaving meat on a bone if that's what your intention is. If it is your intention to use it for broth and to make base with, then by all means leave some meat on it. And again, as you can see, there's actually 5 muscles in the round, but we're making this into basically the 3 unfolded flat ham. That's the shank part, which is a little hard to get because there's a kneecap down there too. It's got to come off. And there you go. That's going into pork stock. Trust me, that's not going away. And there's the unfolded ham as it looks like. And again, you'll see at the end of this video when Mike is pouring the cure to it that it makes it so much easier. And we want to open up just a little bit there between the top and bottom round, just so we can get a little bit better penetration. Okay, so we're going to have to clean up this butt, this Boston butt. And I'm going to do something a little bit different that I wouldn't be doing for a customer. We're doing this because we're going to have to make a lot of sausage and we need some of this meat. I'm actually going to split the butt, and I'm going to take the money muscle off the top of it, and that's what we're going to save, and then the rest of it's going to go into sausage. But just for your benefit here, I'm showing you how to remove this cat fat off this butt. And I remember I've split this butt, so it's actually, long-wise, it's been split in two because I didn't really need that. This pig was 375 pounds, I believe, and it was pretty big. And it would be very hard to cook whole at that size, and so we split it in half long-wise. And you can see there it is. There's the butt split. Very nice looking. Now I'm going to show you where I've taken this and I've split it again to the top. I've removed the top part of that butt. That would be the chuck eye on beef. That's the money muscle in competition pork for barbecue competitions. For pulled pork, the tenders part is right there. The money muscle, the chuck eye. We cryovac everything at the ranch. Great way of preserving this meat for long-lasting benefit. Everything we do is cryovac. Now we have the picnic, the lower part of the shoulder. And what I'm going to do here is, I'm not going to show you the entire process, but I'm going to remove basically just I'm going to remove the bone, the shoulder blade bone out of that, and then everything else is going to go into sausage. Again, this is part of the whole muscle that we use in our sausage, and you need a balance of whole muscle. If you're making pork sausage, you need a balance of whole muscle and fat. And I see and I believe that the pork shoulder and the pork butt is the best combination for that. We use no trim in our sausage in my commercial operation, but here at the ranch we have to have trim, obviously, because we have such lean proteins in these other animals. We need all of it, but that's the shoulder. Now toward the end here, Mike is removing the spare rib off the belly. You could cook that whole thing. You could do a bone-in belly, which is absolutely amazing, but at the ranch Mike makes some wonderful bacon. He makes a great smoked peppered bacon. If you've never been to v-bharre Ranch, we've got people that come there just so they can go back and eat Mike's food again. It is absolutely wonderful. And there's a couple ways to do this. It depends on how much, are you cutting it for spare, or are you cutting it for bacon? Mike is cutting it for bacon, so he's going to kind of make the spare rib a little bit lean because that's what he wants. That's what the guests want, and that's what everybody wants, that big slab of meat right there, which is the bacon. So he's going to trim some of that fat off, and which will go, of course, into sausage. And then he's going to cure that entire piece right there and smoke it. And he does a great job. v-bharre Ranch smoked peppered bacon is just amazing. And there you see, there's the whole pork belly or the bacon, fresh, uncured before it's been cured. And look at the marble in that bacon. Beautiful. And now he is curing. He's beginning the curing process by rubbing his curing process onto this unfolded, I should say, ham. And this is what makes it easier. Obviously, if you had this thing whole, you wouldn't get that kind of penetration. But because I've unfolded it, you can get great penetration from that. That's going to cure for about 3 or 4 days and then go in the smokehouse. Thank you for watching. I hope you've learned something. I love doing this. This is something we've been doing all my life. v-bharre Ranch in Texas Hill Country and Mikeska Brands Texas Barbecue. For more information, please go to www.huntingtexastrophies.com or my company, www.mikeskabrands.com. Thank you.